Why was Blaise Pascal right? The renowned philosopher and mathematician once said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly alone in a room." Pascal argued that the human mind is intrinsically restless, constantly seeking distractions to avoid facing itself. This idea seems more relevant than ever in a world where distraction is just a tap away. During the pandemic, many of us were forced to confront this reality. Social isolation brought to light an uncomfortable truth. Without our usual distractions, we were faced with our own thoughts, anxieties, and insecurities. It was a period when the need to understand and cope with solitude became more apparent. But is solitude really a problem? Or could it be a disguised solution? What if, instead of viewing solitude as something to be feared, we could embrace it as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery? I'd like to share some thoughts on this topic with you. There's something fascinating about how our minds work when we are alone, something that can reveal deep secrets about who we really are. If you struggle with being alone, this video is for you. Because if you can't enjoy your own company, you're always alone. Have you ever tried sitting alone, in silence, doing nothing? It seems simple, but it's a true challenge. Our mind starts racing, bringing up random thoughts, worries, and even a sense of guilt for not doing something productive. Why does this happen? Imagine sitting alone in silence, and suddenly your mind starts reminding you of all the things you should be doing. It begins to create lists, revisit past conversations, and predict future problems. It's like having a roommate who never stops talking. It's frustrating, but it's something we all face. I remember once when I tried to meditate alone, and my mind kept reminding me of all the tasks I had to do. It was a mental chaos. This made me realize how overwhelmed we constantly are. Our society is always on the move, always connected. Yet, at the same time, we are more isolated than ever. Studies show that we spend, on average, over 3 hours per day on our phones, which can increase our sense of isolation. We pick up our phones to distract ourselves, but end up encountering more problems. That unresponded message, that post that makes others' lives seem so perfect, it makes us even more anxious and stressed. Philosophically, this leads us to question the nature of thought and self-awareness. Socrates said, "Know thyself." But how can we know ourselves if we never stop to listen to our own thoughts? The mind, without external stimuli, begins to reveal its true colors. It creates problems because that's how it keeps busy. Eckhart Tolle, one of the most influential contemporary philosophers, talks a lot about this. He says the mind loves problems, it thrives on them. There's an interesting concept in Buddhist philosophy called monkey mind. Our mind jumps from thought to thought, like a monkey swinging from branch to branch. Being alone and in silence allows us to observe this behavior and, eventually, calm the mind. But this calm does not come easily. It requires facing the restlessness, the agitation, the guilt. These challenges are common and part of the process of self-discovery. When we allow ourselves to be alone, without distractions, we start to understand how our mind works. We observe how it tries to manipulate us, how it traps us in cycles of worry and guilt, and by doing so, we start to free ourselves from it. But you might be wondering, how do we create an environment that facilitates this process of self-discovery and introspection? That's where the importance of having a personal sanctuary comes in. A room should be a sanctuary, a calm refuge from the storm of the outside world. I don't know about you, but my room is my safe harbor, where I can be myself, without judgments. I remember when I decided to transform my room into a personal sanctuary. I turned off all notifications and began to spend a few minutes of the day just sitting in silence. Alfred Adler, a famous psychotherapist, said that all problems are interpersonal relationship problems. When we're alone, these problems simply disappear. But then, we pick up our phone and boom, there they are again. That unresponded message, that post that makes you feel inferior. It seems like we carry the whole world in our pocket, right? After all, who hasn't felt an immediate relief when turning off the phone and realizing that, suddenly, the world got a little less chaotic? The phone, which should be a tool for connection, often becomes a source of anxiety and stress. When you put down your phone, you realize there's no real problem. You're just sitting, quietly, alone. And that's liberating. Philosophically, the room can be seen as a space where we can disconnect from the noise of the world and listen to our own voice. It's a place where we can leave the world outside and simply be. But can we really enjoy this quietude? Do we know how to be alone without getting distracted? The Stoics, like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, emphasize the importance of finding inner peace regardless of external circumstances. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and where better to cultivate quality thoughts than in a peaceful and personal space." Transforming your room into a true sanctuary means creating an environment that promotes introspection and calm. You might start by turning off phone notifications, creating a cozy corner to relax, and dedicating a few minutes of the day to introspection. It's a small step, but it can make a big difference. The concept of having a personal sanctuary is not just physical, but also mental. It's about finding that space within ourselves where we can reconnect, reflect, and grow. And by doing this, we realize that inner peace does not depend on external circumstances, but rather on our ability to be present and aware in the moment. But how can we turn these moments of solitude into something even deeper and more meaningful? How can we use this solitude to gain a deeper realization about ourselves and the nature of our mind? When we allow ourselves to be alone in our personal sanctuary, we begin to explore the depths of our mind. This is where things get really interesting. Once, during a meditation, I realized how my mind jumped from one thought to another like a restless monkey. It was a revelatory moment. As we face our mental agitation, we start to recognize patterns and the true nature of our thoughts. Have you noticed how the mind loves problems? It seems to feed on worries, fears, and anxieties. Eckhart Tolle reminds us that the mind is a problem machine, always looking for something to solve, even if there's actually nothing there. This realization can be unsettling, but it is also a gateway to a deeper understanding. When we observe our mind in silence, we realize that many of our problems are self-imposed. The mind creates stories, dramatizes events, and amplifies concerns. Our mind is like a drama scriptwriter, always creating complicated and unnecessary plots. But what if we could see these thoughts for what they really are? Just thoughts, with no real substance. Philosophy comes into play again here. Socrates, with his famous "Know thyself," urges us to this introspection. And it's not just about recognizing our thoughts, but understanding that we are not our thoughts. There's a crucial difference between the I that thinks and the I that observes the thoughts. Philosopher Alan Watts describes this distinction as the difference between the figure and the background. As Alan Watts said, "You are the one who is aware, not what you are aware of." Our conscious mind is constantly focused on the figure, our thoughts, worries, desires. But it's in the background, in the quietness and silent observation, that we find our true nature. When we sit in silence and observe, we begin to perceive this difference. And then comes the question, who are we, really, beyond our thoughts and desires? This is a question that many philosophers, both ancient and contemporary, have tried to answer. What becomes clear, however, is that this quest for self-knowledge and understanding is a continuous path. As we continue exploring this inner space, we begin to realize that many of our problems don't have the gravity that our mind attributes to them. And more than that, we discover that peace and satisfaction don't come from solving problems, but from being present and conscious. Try dedicating 10 minutes of your day to simply observing your thoughts without judging them. This realization doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process of detaching from our thoughts and getting closer to our true essence. When we recognize the true nature of our thoughts, we take the first step towards finding inner peace. But how do we bring this realization into our daily lives, amid responsibilities, distractions, and challenges? I remember a time when I was extremely stressed and decided to go for a walk without my phone. Those minutes of silence and presence completely changed my mood. The Stoics, like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, teach us a lot about the importance of being present and accepting the moment as it is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." And where better to cultivate quality thoughts than in a peaceful and personal space? Transforming your room into a true sanctuary means creating an environment that promotes introspection and calm. Maybe it's turning off notifications, finding a comfortable corner, and dedicating a few minutes of the day to simply being present. Try starting your day with a brief 5-minute meditation, focusing only on your breath. It's a small step, but it can make a big difference. Practicing presence is like training a muscle. At first, it may seem difficult, but over time, it becomes more natural. Meditation practice is an excellent tool for this. By focusing on breathing and observing thoughts without engaging with them, we begin to cultivate a quieter, more centered mind. The mind is like a restless dog. It needs training to stay quiet. Eckhart Tolle speaks about the importance of living in the now. He says the mind loves to get lost in the past or worry about the future, but true life happens in the present. When we are fully present, worries disappear and we find profound peace. As Tolle says, the main cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. Over time, this practice of being present can transform the way we deal with challenges. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can respond with calm and clarity. And this not only improves our relationship with ourselves, but also with others. A quiet, present mind is the foundation for healthier and more meaningful relationships. Inner peace is not something achieved once and for all. It's a continuous practice, a daily effort to remain conscious and present. But the benefits are profound. A clearer mind, less stress, and a greater sense of well-being. The practice of presence, as taught by the Stoics and Eckhart Tolle, shows us that happiness and peace are not in solving all problems, but in how we choose to perceive them. The ability to be fully present, without being dragged by worries of the past or future, is what gives us freedom. So, are you ready to transform solitude into a source of strength? Can you accept the challenge of knowing yourself on a deeper level? Remember, true peace starts within you, and it's from this point of inner calm that we can truly live fully and consciously. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a thank you in the comments and subscribe for more videos. Remember, knowledge is the path to true freedom. Count on me and follow the white rabbit.